Well, today, this is an exciting one because I've known Stan for, we were trying to figure out what, 300 years or something we've known each other. And we decided to go Twinkie with the original Eskimo Joe's t-shirts.
Yeah.
I didn't properly introduce you.
The classic logo.
Yes. So this is Stan Clark, owner, founder, owner, all of the above.
I'll take those titles.
The legendary Eskimo Joe's in Stillwater. And Stan, I know you've heard this a lot, but what were you thinking? What, you get out of college and then boop, you opened a bar.
Well, I was thinking that my dad had raised me to think entrepreneurially my whole life. And so when I graduated from OSU in May of '75, and 2 weeks later on a Sunday afternoon, I'm perched on the couch at my good friend 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪𝙩's house and watching reruns of Star Trek. And he walks in, he says, "Hey, Clark, I'm gonna open a bar." I go, "Wow, that's a cool idea. I know where there's this neat little 2-story building for it. I'm gonna partners with you." So right then we jumped in his 1953 Chevy.
Oh, that fast?
Yeah, and he had a '53 Chevy. This was '75 now. And it was about 5 blocks or so from Joe's. He lived at 303 South Ramsey. That is actually now part of the parking garage for the McKnight Center, for any of you that are familiar with Stillwater geography. But at any rate, within 15 minutes, we shook hands with the then owner of the property, and that's the inception of Eskimo Joe's.
Okay, well, what else are we going to talk about? So this design,
yes, sir.
A OSU student created that.
That's
so
correct.
Remember who he was?
Yes. His name was Bill Thompson. He was a freshman commercial arts student and a friend of Steve's younger brother. Steve wanted to call it Eskimo Joe's. I was like, I don't know, Eskimo Joe's, really? What does that mean in Stillwater, Oklahoma? And Phil would go, Eskimo Joe's, and any of our friends who happened to be around they'd kind of come into this chant, Eskimo Joe's. Everybody liked the name. And it rhymed. It was so goofy. I like to say I was kind of a marketing guru myself because I had 3 hours of marketing at Oklahoma State.
At least, yeah. Okay.
So, but I did think, well, okay, it rhymes. It's kind of fun. Kind of the mojo sound, I kind of like that. Anyway, so we decided, okay, Eskimo Joe's, we got to have a logo. Thankfully, from my principles of marketing class, I understood the value of a logo.
You did pay attention.
I did. And so, anyway, Russell, Steve's younger brother, says, "Hey, I know a guy I think could do it. His name's Bill Thompson." So Bill pulls up in front of Joe's, and he is the classic artist. He's driving a VW bus. He's got California plates. He gets out of the car. He's got blonde flowing hair down about to here. And I thought that guy could probably do it. So anyway, he starts on an art pad, yay big, with a magic marker. And
oh, he did it right there at the bar.
He did it inside Eskimo Joe's in one of the front windows. And so Steve and I take off. We go grab a bite to eat. When we come back, there's Joe and Buffy. Literally right here. First and only one he ever rendered. And I go, "Wow, I love it. That's it. What do you think?" And Steve goes, "Yeah, it's all right." So he wanted to call it Eskimo Joe's. I loved the logo, but we both
Well, where did Buffy come from? He just created Buffy when he did it? Or?
Oh, yeah. We didn't ask for Buffy. In fact, here's a great story. So we've been open a few weeks. We had T-shirts for sale day one. We sold T-shirts from day one in July '75. And we've been open, I think, a week, maybe 2. And a young lady came up to the bar in the afternoon and she said, "I want one of those T-shirts." And so we got it for her. She said, "Now, you guys, what's the dog's name?" And Steve and I kind of looked at each other and we were stumped, and one of us blurted out, "Buffy." And that's how the dog was named.
Holy mackerel. And nowadays that would have been a conversation with lawyers and doctorates and marketing and all this kind of stuff. And
I don't think you're wrong, Jack. I don't think you're wrong.
Holy mackerel, I never heard that part of the story, that the dog just came along with Eskimo Joe and you guys made up a name.
Well, I truly did. When I first laid eyes on it, I go, all of a sudden that name made sense to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. I guess it's Joe's big smile, because I think that's friendly and it draws you in. And a boy and his dog, it's a universal theme, you know. I wouldn't have thought of it in exactly those terms, but But it is all that. I've had 50 years to think about it. And, you
That's
know.
right. You had a 50th anniversary just
did.
recently.
Just last
year?
summer, yeah.
Wow. All right.
All right.
Reset the timer for the second, 50.
Yeah, boy,
So-
I don't think I'm going to get to celebrate that one, but please set your timers.
Yeah, there you go. So you were just telling me we were putting these shirts on, and you were saying that the original shirt
Yes, sir.
was $3.95 or something.
$3.75.
Yeah.
And you got a free beer with it. Oh, and by the way, I don't think our cash register was sophisticated enough. So I think that $3.75 included tax.
Oh my gosh.
Because I don't think our register had it. Well, I know it didn't. I can say that for sure. It was one of those registers where you only had like 4 choices and you push the button and boom, the drawer
Hit
came
you
out.
in the belly. Yeah. Okay. And you made, you said you made 100 shirts? Did I hear that?
No, 72. 72. Which 6 dozen.
Okay.
Shirts are kind of sold by the dozen.
Okay.
We had three dozen that were kind of a light blue and 3 dozen that were kind of a goldish yellow. And the original print were one color, just exactly like this. I described how he designed the logo with a magic marker on this big art pad. So that's why it recreates so beautifully in one color.
So simple.
I still love the one color just as well as the multicolor.
And where did the slogan on the back come from?
Oh, love this
what is
story.
the
Thank you
slogan?
for asking. Stillwater's Jumping Little Juke Joint.
That's back here.
Yeah. And the reason and the way that was born was we'd been open about a month. It's a Friday night. Joe's is tiny. It's 900 square feet, including the bathrooms
If you
and behind the
stand
bar and
back
everything.
and squint, you can see the original building.
Yeah.
It's just that little narrow
Yeah.
rock building.
Right. Okay. No, yeah, you don't really have to squint. I like the picture you paint there, but
Yes.
friend walks in Friday night. We're hopping, and I say we're hopping. It's so tiny, 50 people were packed. Okay,
Yeah.
right. But anyway, he walks in. He goes, "Hey, Clark, Elvin Bishop's got a new record out. Would you spin a track for me?" Sure. His name was A.L. Brenton from Tulsa area, and good friend. And so, anyway, the name of the record by Elvin Bishop was Juke Joint Jump. And the title track is Juke Joint Jump. So, we spun tunes all the time, 2 turntables. So I dropped the needle and and then anyway, opening line, "There's a jumping little juke joint away out in the sticks." And I turned to File and I said, "That's it, File. We're Stillwater's jumping little juke joint." And that's how the
I never
slogan
heard
was
that.
born. Yeah. Elvin Bishop. So a good friend of mine, Clyde Cole, who was our musical director clear back in the day, he just went and saw Van Morrison in San Francisco this week. And guess who was on the stage with him? Elvin Bishop.
No
And he sent me some video from it. And I mean, it makes
Is he like
hair on the
100
back
years
of my
old
neck.
now?
Yeah, they're both in their 80s.
Wow.
and they're cooking. I mean, it was so cool. He invited me to go. I just couldn't make it happen. But anyway.
Was there a turning point where you figured, hey, this is actually a thing?
Yes, sir. Our special the first night, it was a Friday night, was 10-cent draws from 6 till midnight. 10 cents.
Okay.
Little big Coors cups. I think they were 9-ounce cups. But 10-cent draws, hey, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
And so back in the day, no cell phones, of course, we had a payphone. And man, the kids were going back there to that payphone. They're calling their friends, saying, "Hey, they're giving away beer down there. Come on down." But I could just feel the energy, the acceptance, the vibe, this is going to be fun. People like this. Wow. And so, I'm not kidding you. I never, ever had a short-term view of Joe's. I didn't know it was going to be 50 years later. I didn't know we were going to, have a retail brand that was well known. In all modesty, certainly at least in this part of the country, and certainly they've gone around the world. But I had no idea of all that. But I always felt like there was something special there, and I was in it for the long haul. I never thought, yeah, this is going to be fun. We'll build it up a little bit and sell it. That was never my view of it. And actually, my original partner Steve fell in love and ended up getting married, and he really did need to and want to get out of the bar business and pursue other interests. So I was a very excited and willing buyer, and he was he wanted to sell, so it was perfect.
So how long was he with you?
Perfectly natural dissolution of the partnership as good friends. 2.5 years.
Okay.
We opened in July of 75, and I bought his half interest in January of 78.
You were telling me a while ago about when you learned that people ate more food than drank beer, and there was a reason for that. Something with the liquor license laws or something?
Well, I think what I like to say in a public speaking environment or something like that was, we were just a beer joint for the first 8 years. And then in the fall of 1983, the state legislature literally pulls the rug out from under this great business I've got going and this whole concept of a 3-2 beer joint serving OSU students by changing the drinking age from 18 to 21. So that's what forced me into the restaurant business. And we opened our first kitchen in the spring of 1984. And I just always liked to kid, I was really excited to find out in 1984, more people actually eat every day than drink every day. It was such a surprise to me.
So is it overall still today, is the food is bigger than the bar side of it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Ever since we added the food, that's been the growth side of the business. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. And back in the day, we had to get more than half of our revenues to be derived from non-alcoholic product, or we would have had to posted the place as 21 and over to enter. Oh. And so in that 6-month window,
you gave away a lot of food.
with our hamburgers and French fries and everything non-alcoholic, plus all of our shirt sales, we got to about 50.4% non-alcoholic to 49.6%. And so we narrowly made the cut. And so, of course, now it's a family restaurant. Yeah. People from all walks of life, multi-generations can come in and enjoy frankly, in all modesty, great food product. Everything we do is fresh from scratch. Couldn't be more proud.
I've been in the kitchen and I was amazed with, you were saying that, your cheese fries. I'll ask where the cheese fries came from in a minute, but just the cheese fry part of the kitchen
prep area
is bigger than used to be your whole.
Oh yeah, bigger than our whole kitchen without a doubt. The original kitchen was so tiny, it was unbelievable. But you know what? I actually got great advice from other restaurateurs in the state, and they just said, start out simple. Don't do anything you can't do exceedingly well, and you can always expand. And so we did just that. So we had a little onion fried burger we called a Little Joe, and we had a Joe's Special, we called it, which is a 5.5 ounce burger. Back then, we actually have upped that to 6 ounces today, but fresh lean ground beef on a char grill. That is actually a very uncommon product anymore, and it's our #1 seller still to this day. Wasn't long after we opened, a young man came in and he had a marinade recipe. He said, "Oh man, I can make you the best chicken sandwich you've ever had." So he makes it and we go, "You're right." And so that's the foul thing.
Yep.
Eskimo Joe's famous foul thing. Fresh cut fries from day one. Always wanted to have fresh cut French fries.
That was another thing. I remember the guy putting the potatoes in the thing and ka-chunk and...
Yeah. Well, back in the day, and for many, many years, that was put a potato in, and on the wall, boom, it was a manual slicer. Yeah. And eventually we found, it's called a chipper, but I mean, literally we roll the great big Idaho fresh potatoes after we've washed them into that thing, and boom, the fries just come flying out.
Fries. Oh.
But we do them in great big, they're not trash cans. They're sanitary, but they look like a big 55-gallon trash can. They're on casters, of course. And then once they've been cut, then we run fresh, cold water through them until nothing comes out except clear water. And that's getting all the extra starch. And I'm no scientist, but until that water's clear, they're not ready. And then we hold them, and then you have to blanch them, which just means you partially cook them, hard cook them, and then you can drop them in and finish them just perfectly. And
there's a whole process.
There's a lot to it, but you know what? There's just nothing like it.
So how did the legendary cheese fries come about? Who brainstormed that one?
Well, that was Robert Williams, our director of restaurant operations, still with us to this day. Been with us 42 years. Second guy I ever hired once we got into food service, and still with us. Just a huge blessing. But it was his idea to do them. You know, you kind of think about it, it's kind of like nachos. Put the chip in and melt the cheese. I just thought it was kind of a crazy idea, and they were popular. We sold them, and then in May of 1990, number 41, President George H.W. Bush makes a little comment to about 40,000 of our friends in Lewis Field.
I'm sorry Barbara couldn't be with me here. She did tell me to get a beer and some cheese fries over at Eskimo Joe's.
And that day, they became our signature item. And I mean, to this day, you know, I was in Joe's last night with about 30 people, and I've never seen so many cheese fries in my life. They just kept coming. Everybody at this long table of our friends from Simmons Bank, and they just kept coming. And anyway, that presidential endorsement was
That
a big
was
deal.
absolutely amazing.
That was a big deal.
Yes, and you've got a letter from Mrs. Bush
yeah.
on the wall, and
Yeah.
so if you go into Joe's clothes, what wall is that on? It's on the wall.
Kind of the east wall.
On the east wall,
east wall of Joe's clothes, and as you're going east, you walk right through the doorway. You're back in
Right.
the
It's
dome
sort of like a
area,
little
Joe.
museum
Yeah.
of all of the presidential accolades and important people. And
Yeah, we've got it. We actually call it kind of a little history museum. Just some of the handful of the fun things that have happened in 50 short years.
that's crazy. So now, I know you like music. I mean, you could name every rock band ever known to man because we've sat and edited your videos for you forever. But you created your own music too. You were your own rock star.
Well,
I use
thank
that
you.
loosely.
Thank you. Yeah, that could be a stretch, but I did have a blast. So the way this got started was my 10th anniversary was coming, and 10 years, man. I'm thinking that's
a
pretty
big deal.
cool. Yeah. So I started at 22, so now I'm early 30s, and here it comes. And I always had enjoyed playing guitar, played from the time I was just a kid, took guitar lessons, etc. Still kind of had an ear for it. And I just decided, I just had this crazy idea. I want to write a couple of songs about Joe's, record them, and see if we could get any airplay. But it was really just a PR stunt. That's all it was. So I go down to the local music store in Stillwater, and I'd say, man, I want to get a Fender Stratocaster, and I need a good little amp. And so anyway, the fellow that was going to sell me the guitar, his name was Rick Peel. And I told him what my plan was or what I wanted to do. And he says, well, if you're really serious about doing that, he said, the drummer in our band owns a studio. And we can make that happen for you. I said, really? So I get the guitar and I'm chunking along. Clyde Cole, I mentioned him earlier. He writes the lyrics the last night at Joe's, sends them over to me. I'm laughing my head off. I had to change a few lines that were maybe a little more appropriate. But anyway, so the original two songs, Last Night at Joe's and the Juke Joint Shuffle. Right. The guys in the band were at Stillwater Bay late one night. I saw them, I go over, and they asked, how are you coming on your song? I said, I think we got Last Night at Joe's down, but I need a B-side. They said, well, let's go over to Rick's house. We can pound one out. And so, literally, I've never seen something created like this, but the keyboard player's name's Ed Robinson. He starts messing around and da-dun. Anyway, within about 5 minutes, he's got this da-dun, da-dun, this little thing going. And he goes, there's a jumping little juke joint, blah, blah, blah. The Juke Joint Shuffle was written in about 15 minutes. I've never seen anything like it. So I record these songs with these guys at the Long Branch Studios in Tulsa. Last Night at Joe's, Juke Joint Shuffle. We got airplay on 14 different radio stations. And I remember one Friday afternoon, I'm driving down 15th Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and on the Rainbow Station, KMOD 97.5, the DJ is getting ready to cue this up, and he says, and this goes out to our friends at Eskimo Joe's in Stillwater. This is Eskimo Joe and Andy Gravity, and this is the Juke Joint Shuffle. I can't believe it. I mean, I was so taken aback. This radio station I grew up listening to all the time, powerful station, big signal. They're the OU station in Tulsa still to this day. So I'm driving down 15th Street and I'm listening to myself sing. And I mean, I'm just in this euphoric state. And I look over and there's a kid waving at me. And he's going like this. And I'm like, wow, this is weird. So I pull over roughly about where the fairgrounds are now. So between Harvard and Yale. And I pull over and this kid gets out of his car. I may choke up. And he had a flyer that we passed around before we opened the very first day that we'd put under his dorm room door, and he had framed it for me and was going to bring it to me that weekend in Stillwater.
And he saw you on the street.
And he saw me on the street, and my song is playing on 𝘾𝙡𝙤. And I'm going, wow, that's a thing. That's a thing.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I still remember that like it was yesterday. It was crazy.
What's that movie, That Thing You Do? Did you see that movie? That Thing You Do? About the garage band that got famous?
Oh, no, I haven't seen it.
That scene is
Kind
in
of
that movie.
reminds you of that, really?
Yeah, where they hear the music on the radio and they're
yeah.
all running down the street and everything. And
Well, I've even heard the Beatles talk about when they would, first hear their music on the radio out. Just, it was just so
is
cool. and
crazy.
everything.
Wow. So what made you decide to branch out into other restaurants? Because there's Mexico Joe's.
Yeah.
And then there was the one downtown,
Yeah. Stillwater Bay.
Stillwater Bay.
All right.
And then you had Giuseppe's
Yep.
and
Mojo's.
Mojo's. So what's the story with that?
Bad judgment.
Okay.
Well, felt like we had a real knack for delighting guests and showing people a good time, and loved our values of fresh food, prepared from scratch, etc. So the Stillwater Bay concept, we started within 6 months after we put the kitchen in at Joe's. And it was an overnight success. And we ran it for 20 and a half years, and I have zero regrets about that. I mean, it'd still be open if it was making money, I'll be the first to admit. But it had a nice run, and it was very well received in Stillwater. And candidly, probably shined a real positive light back on Joe's as we were known as a bar. People used to call, can we bring our kids in there? And it took a little while for that to establish. The people who came in realized the product was great and all that. But I actually think opening the second restaurant helped Joe's a lot too. But anyway, the third one came along. We moved Stillwater Bay downtown. We put Mexico Joe's behind Cowboy Mall, which was a leased space. And tried that for a while. Started counting how many people we turned away every week. Decided we needed a bigger one. So we built Mexico Joe's from the ground up. First time we ever had a prime location. And we're still there. So I'm very proud of that concept. Then we decided to try another one, and that was Giuseppe's, right next door to Mexico Joe's. And Giuseppe's didn't ever make money, so we tried to reconcept and created Mojo's Rock and Bowl Grill. And because again, I love the rock and roll thing, and we decided to put in some lanes of bowling. Thought it'd be a kind of a entertainment / entertainment, I think is kind of the term they used to use for that. And that didn't work either, so but hey, you give it the old college try, and probably overextended a little more. Tried to do a little bit more probably than our market would support, but hey, no regrets. We're still plugging away.
But wait, there's more. All right, so when we come back, we're going to learn about the top 5 things you may not know about Eskimo Joe's company. Stay tuned.
Home health is a lot of different things to people, but what it is from our perspective and what we are licensed for is in-home intermittent care. Home health is by referral only. What sets us apart is our caregivers and our clinicians that go in to take care of the patients. A lot of our nurses have specialty areas. They work with the surgeons and wound care centers. Our occupational therapist is lymphedema certified and wound care certified. Our physical therapists are highly experienced in in-home needs for gaining independence and safety. There's just a lot of benefits to what our people specialize in. Our office is located in Enid. We cover up to an 80-mile radius. This includes Hennessy, Watauga, O'Keene, Fairview, and the surrounding communities. Our nurses have over 100 years combined experience doing advanced care nursing. Our mission is to give them optimal care in the home so that they can reach their goals while being in the comfort of their own home.
And we're back. So I have to amend when we went to commercial. I said there were top 5 things you might not know about Eskimo Joe's. There's actually 6. So, and this one, the thing that startled me when we started working with you years ago is that your office, the corporate office for the Eskimo Joe company, is in plain sight, but you would never know it.
Yeah. Well, we're blessed. We have a beautiful Victorian home across the street from Eskimo Joe's. It was actually built by Dr. Connell, who was the 6th president of Oklahoma A&M College. And there's some discrepancy. It was either built in 1906, which would be pre-statehood, or 1908. We're not absolutely certain which. But there's the Historical Society, and Peggy McCormick wrote a book about the house. And so anyway, that's really interesting to me. It was sold to a family with the last name of Swim. The Swim had several kids, some of which were born right in the home. And of course, I think that was not atypical back in that era. And then, at any rate, I was able to buy it in 1987. One of the young ladies that introduced me to it, her last name was Bennett, of the Bennett Hall name, and kind of a famous name there in Stillwater. So she's a descendant of that, probably 3rd or 4th generation down from Henry Bennett, I think was his name. At any rate.
So was it, because I know you've pretty much gutted the place, remodeled it 9 times. Did the historical thing get in the way of that? Or
No, thankfully it wasn't registered. So we didn't have to fight those issues. But I'll tell you this, the family's thrilled that we got it and we preserved it. Yep. Because they were concerned that, if somebody's just going to knock it down, it's going to be a little, commercial, whatever. And so they're very proud of that. And I've given many tours of their descendants. But anyway, this young lady, last name of Bennett, was a hostess at Eskimo Joe's. And she asked me, hey, would you have any interest in my grandparents' house across the street? I said, well, I would love to see it. It's been there, since, but I've never been in it or anything, but I'm sure I couldn't buy it, but could you get the keys? I'd love to see it. So we went over and we toured it, and wheels start turning. Well, maybe this could become kind of a headquarters for us. And so anyway, I checked with the family, and they told me what they were going to try to sell it for. And, I'm thinking, well, maybe we ought to do that. So anyway, we did buy it. And it took a full year, like you said. It had that old-fashioned wiring. I don't know what it's called, but
knob and tube wiring.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so that had to be all changed out and modern wiring so we could plug in computers and whatnot. But at any rate, it's just a great.
Well, it's neat that it's such an epic building, and no one really knows what's in there. When you go up and you ring the doorbell, the little door opens, and somebody says, "What do you want?" No, I'm kidding.
It's not a speakeasy.
Yeah, the guard. So the next time you go to Eskimo Joe's, turn around and look north, and there's this beautiful Victorian home, and that's the headquarters.
Yes, it is. It is
pretty fun.
We call it the service center. Everyone that works there serves all of our team. That that's our job. Our customers are all the people that work for our company.
Yep,
so, fun.
That is cool. All right. So number 2, is it true that Eskimo Joe's was highlighted or featured or whatever it is in 3 marketing textbooks?
That is true. Very exciting. Our story was teed up in these books. It's great the way they do it. They actually had some video that supported it for their kids, but they'd read the story. So the way they covered Eskimo Joe's was they talked about our inception, they talked about our success as a bar, and then the changing drinking age. So what are you going to do? And so they teed it up and they gave the students some options, and then they ultimately say what we ended up doing and how that worked out. And so it was in 3 different editions or whatever. So that's just really fun to be in a textbook scenario like that and have students learning about and just working with our story and seeing how they would have reacted to that scenario.
All right, number 3. You have some kind of special relationship with Eskimo Joe and Pistol Pete.
Yes, we do. We were invited by Oklahoma State University to marry up our indicia with theirs. So putting Joe and Buffy with Pete, putting Joe and Buffy or Eskimo Joes with literally all their indicia, whether it be logos, you know, at one time they had the flaming OSU, all those kinds of things. And to our knowledge, it is the only local brand a la Eskimo Joe's that has such a relationship with a D1 institution.
And did your
really
art department create all the art? Or did it come from an agency or something? Or
well, the OSU stuff is theirs.
Right.
All of our stuff, of course, we've managed and controlled. But for them to come to us and really ask us if we would be willing to co-brand, I was like, are you kidding? Yeah. You know, it's the greatest compliment you could ever give us. I've been operating in the shadows. I never would have come to Stillwater if it hadn't been for Oklahoma State. Yep. You know, they're the whole reason everybody that's there is there. So it was a high honor. That's been 15 years ago, and the relationship continues. Very proud of it.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, number 4. This is a big one. This is a really big one. So we've already talked about that you create your own T-shirts.
Yes, sir.
But you create all your own T-shirts and many others. So
Well,
tell us about is it Eskimo Joe's promotional products? Is that
Yes,
what
sir.
that's called? It's a whole other thing.
Eskimo Joe's Promotional Products Group. But to go back, 𝘼𝙗𝙬𝙪𝙩, who was and is still today our buyer, she just kept saying, man, we got to start doing our own screen printing work. We got to get control of this so we can be quicker, so we can grow into it and get to market quicker and all that. So, I mean, I got to give her all the credit. She talked me into becoming a screen printer. So we started screen printing for Eskimo Joe's in 1990.
And this was just a little operation in the back room of a downtown building.
Well, no, not this.
Was this the big jump?
Yeah, we went ahead. We bought the building that had been a bar. Back door to back door, Joe's closed just across the parking lot.
Well, that's what I mean.
But it fronts Knobloch.
Okay.
And which fronts Oklahoma State University. So it's a big place. So we started that in 1990. In 1995, we just had this home run of an opportunity. Coach Eddie Sutton gets the OSU men's basketball team to the Final Four. So I'll never forget it. Watched the game on Sunday. OSU not favored, by far not favored, and we beat UMass, who had a guy named Marcus Camby who played for 20 plus years in the NBA right after that season. But we beat him. And with about a minute and a half left in the game, Marcus Camby goes up for a rebound, and his elbow knocks the front tooth out of our senior forward, a fellow by the name of Scott Pierce. Stillwater goes nuts. I've never seen anything like it. If you drove Greek Row University, it looked like Animal House. Every house is papered. There's beer cans everywhere, empty kegs. It literally looks like Animal House. So as we gathered on Monday morning, everybody's going, well, what should we do? Our president, John Killen, says, well, I was watching Channel 4 last night. They're printing shirts down in Oklahoma City like crazy. Really? Cynthia Jones, our then PR director, comes in. She goes, yeah, we got to do something. Come on, you guys, let's come up with something. So finally, last guy in, artist, imagine that. He walks in, he said, I bought every newspaper I could get my hands on, read everything there was to read about this, that we're going to the Final Four. But he said this one writer had a pretty clever line. He said, Scott Pierce will be toothless in Seattle. Oh, and I go, oh, that's it. This is like 2 years after Sleepless in Seattle came out. Mike creates this shirt. Joe's doing a reverse slam dunk with one of his front teeth knocked out. Channel 9 calls, what are you guys doing up there for for you got to see the shirt we're going to do. So at 5 o'clock, it's being broadcast out to the state on Griffin Media what our shirt's going to look like. And by the next morning, people stood in line all week long to buy shirts that hadn't been printed yet. And from our production facility, we did about a dozen of them printed. We'd run back across the hall over the parking lot in through the back door. Who needs a medium? Somebody raised their hand. They were literally, you talk about hot off the presses, they were still hot coming out of our dryer. So we ended up having every screen printer we could contact in the state was helping us print them. We had a store in Oklahoma City, and we had a store in Tulsa. So we had all kinds of friends helping us get shirts to people that wanted them. I tell you that story to tell you that's why I built the great big screen printing facility that we have today, 37,000 feet under roof.
Out near the airport.
And guess what? Because we were going to be ready for the next Toothless in Seattle that never happened.
Oh, no.
And so within just a few years, we got it open in 98. And I realized within just a few years, we'd never create this much retail demand. And so that's what basically was the basis for forming Eskimo Joe's Promotional Products Group, where we share our branding knowledge and our screen printing expertise and the great graphics art team that we enjoy and all the other aspects of having been, marketing a brand for all those years. And so now we sell screen printed, embroidered, and all kinds of promotional products of all kinds.
Pens?
Yes, absolutely. Anything and everything that you can brand, that's what we do. And what's interesting is actually, as we kind of backed into that, if you will, that has become by far our biggest company.
Okay, well, I was going to ask, has that now dwarfed the restaurant business?
Oh yeah,
but
it has.
We'll put, Ivan will be editing this, and we have video of the big turnstiles. In screen print and all the rows of embroidery machines.
Yeah.
And it's a big operation.
It is.
It's pretty neat. Congratulations for, turning
and,
into what
just between us girls, Jack, I lost money in that for 10 years.
Really?
For 10 years, I was in the red. But you know what? I wasn't going to quit printing for Eskimo Joe's anyway. And I always knew we were doing it right because we were delighting the clients we were serving. But I just needed to get enough top line to cover expenses. You can relate to that.
Yep.
But anyway, I'm so glad we hung in there because today it is our biggest.
Well, it's good stuff. I have Eskimo Joe shirts that are 30 years old, and they're still, the ink is stuck on the shirt like it should be, not like today with the iron-on stuff and everything else. But
no, it's always been quality, and I'll tell you this too: everything we do, all day, every day, unconditionally guaranteed to our guests' complete satisfaction. So I don't care if it's a $14.95 foul thing. Or if it's a $14,950 promotional products order, if the client is not completely delighted, they don't pay anything, we take it back and we replace it. I don't ever want anybody to keep something that we did that's not perfect. Because every time they look at it, they're thinking, Eskimo Joe's promotional products, they
weren't any good.
Yeah, they were good.
Then they tell all their friends.
Yeah.
All right. The number 5 thing that you probably don't thank Kendra's our offline producer over here keeping me on track. Okay, the 5th thing that I don't think anybody knows this. You actually lived in the Eskimo Joe building when in the beginning.
Yes, sir. That one, you're really going back now. So we opened in July of 75. And when school started in August, a young man moved into the apartment above us. And I think he was up there maybe 3 weeks, but Joe's is jamming down below, and I don't know how in the world he stayed as long as he did, but when he decided and told the landlords that he needed to move out, we were anxious to take it on, so we did take it over, and we're glad to have the space. But we didn't, at first, Steve and I moved in. So I had a mattress on the floor upstairs at Joe's, and Steve had a mattress on the floor in the other bedroom, and there was one bathroom up there that we shared, and it's just great. But it didn't take us but a few weeks to realize this is okay, this is handy, but we can find somewhere else to live. We need to expand the business.
Yeah.
So by Bedlam weekend in the fall of '75, we'd actually opened the upstairs. So, you know, that was within
So that
6 months
became
of our opening.
but there was another bar up there too.
Yeah, we had a bar. We took the area that was the kitchen to the apartment, and we did this fold up bar so that when we were closed, you know, the bar top folded up so you couldn't get in there to get to the beer, and it had a door actually to the kitchen, and then there was like a small dining area, and then a good sized living area, and then on either side were the 2 bedrooms that I referred to. So anyway, in one of the bedrooms, quote unquote, we put like Galactica and Pac-Man and, you know, some of the early electronic games, some pinball machines. And then the other one, we just built some bench seating in. And, you know, it was cozy. It was fun. It was more space. And, you know, on big nights like a Bedlam weekend, we filled it up.
Yep. All right. Is it 6? 6. Okay, I got the okay for 6. All right. So the top 6th thing is Hard Rock. You sold. Tell me about the Hard Rock story, because I'll mess it up.
Well, in November 28th of 1988, the Tulsa World published that, I think the headline was something like Eskimo Joe's shirt hot sellers, but they likened us to Hard Rock. They compared us as one of the most collectible shirts in the country, behind Hard Rock London and Hard Rock New York. Now, Hard Rock opened in '71, we opened in '75. So they kind of set the stage. But for us to get compared to Hard Rock in London, England, and New York City, 2 of the biggest tourist draws in the world, Eskimo Joe's in Stillwater, Oklahoma, that was quite a comparison.
That's pretty amazing.
And while I don't know where they got their information, and I cannot substantiate it, people still to this day recollect that. In fact, just last night, a gentleman said, now what's the story? Aren't you one of the most sold t-shirts in the country behind Hard Rock? This is last night. I mean, I'm talking, you know, so that's been a long time ago.
Wow, that is crazy. What did I forget? I know that we could keep going for days here, but you know, Joe's has expanded and expanded and expanded. I mean, you almost have at least half the block.
Well, I will say this. I very aggressively acquired land as I could. Much of it owner financed, frankly. You know, a piece of property would come available and I'd ask, and well, I'd sure like to have that. And, you know, sure, and would, you know, anyway, but the acquisitions of some of these adjoining properties, it took 15 years to do it. I'm no longer a buyer.
Buy something?
the land value around there has just gotten to the point where I can't even imagine. Every time I bought something, you know, I felt like I was gouged, but you know, now you look back and you're so thankful that you bit the bullet and you sacrificed, if you will, to make the payments to get it bought. But so today, you know, like on a football game day, we're just so blessed. We got that humongous parking lot caddy corner from us where we can set up bars and stages for bands and big tents and people watching games under tents and just all those things. It just couldn't happen without that land. And also it's just parking for, you know, week in, week out, all day, every day. It's just worked out beautifully. Feel so very fortunate.
Well,
and the only thing I want to say is to anyone who's watching, thank you for your interest and thank you for your support. Because without the support of Oklahomans for 50 years, you know, we're nothing. We could be a bunch of empty buildings for sale, which, by the way, I got one.
That's right. Yeah, make you a deal. Yeah.
But you know, it's we just know we've been incredibly blessed, and I can't tell you how grateful we are, and how much we appreciate good friends like you. You've helped me on so many projects over the years, so many commercials we did together, and our Smiles 101 video. But
that's a whole nother story.
It is a fun story.
Well, Sam, thanks so much for hanging out today. We could go on. We could make this chapter 3, 4, and 5, but maybe we can come back some other day and do the rest of the story. But I appreciate you telling our viewers what, you know, more of the story, and especially the top 6 things. I mean, oh my gosh.
Well, I'm honored, and you're a dear friend, and I'm just delighted to do it. So thanks for calling.
Stay tuned.